Good day, I'm Marieth Kloppers. I'm broker owner of Remax Infoglobe, and today I'm here with one of my colleagues, John Marie, who is an intern with Remax Infoglobe, and she's going to ask me a couple of informal questions about real estate in general, and I'm going to see if I can answer her questions.
Okay, so my first question is, why would you say it's not smart to market your own property? So I found that owners would like to test and try it themselves, and then they would go over to an agent later. But why would you say it's not smart to market it by yourself?
When you sell your home, I think one of the main objectives of any seller is to get the best possible sales price for your property. And I think because it's not necessarily something that you do every day, you don't buy and sell property every day, you're not an area specialist in the area where your home is, you might not necessarily know the correct price. So the first and the most important reason to use a real estate agent is they will know what your home is worth. They realistically in the market every day, they know what properties sell for, what the price per square meters, what the highest sales prices are. They know what the house is competing with, what else is in the market. So they will be able to guide you and assist you to determine the best possible sales price for your property. So that's one of the first reasons.
And I think that is a very important point, because I think sometimes they cut out agents because they want to cut their commission cost.
Yes, they think they're going to save, but it's actually costing them more, because agents are also trained negotiators. Agents are skilled, professional estate agents should be skilled to negotiate the best possible sales price for the seller. I always say that one of the main purposes of an agent is to create a platform of competition amongst buyers where they compete for the property, and it puts the agent in that position to create fear of loss and ultimately negotiate the best sales price for the seller.
Okay, perfect. And then I wanted to ask, what would you say is the risk to overprice a home to test the market?
Okay, the most important time in the marketing time frame when you put your house up for sale is actually the first month, because that's when your property is fresh in the market, when the alerts are sent out to the database of buyers on Property 24 private property on the Remax website, to the agent's personal database. That's when there's excitement in the market about the property. So usually the buyers that see it advertised in the first month will come and view it. And then you have to remember, buyers buy by comparison, not by selection. So they will look at everything that's for sale. Now they're seeing this house in the time frame where everyone is excited, where it's new in the market, but it's overpriced. And they're rejecting the property at that price. They're not making an offer. They feel it's overpriced. Now, a month later, the house is still in, even though you might come down in price then, you've missed out on that first opportunity. So it's almost like the property is becoming the stale bread in the shop. People are no longer excited about it. Human characteristic is, if you see others don't want it, then you don't want it either. So if others rejected it, even though it might be priced right now, it's already been in the market for 3-4 months, and people have this perception that something is wrong with this property.
Yeah, so I found that recently as well with some of my properties where the owners wanted to go in higher than it was actually worth. And after a few months of it not selling, even after dropping the price, some of the buyers actually asked me, what is wrong? Why doesn't it sell? So I think immediately, even though there's nothing wrong with the property, but just because it was initially overpriced.
There's a stigma.
Yeah.
Yes.
On it. Okay, and then a little bit more over to investment. So we've seen that Pretoria gets a better return on investment, but in Cape Town we get the capital growth of the property. What can you do to increase your return on investment in Cape Town as it are?
So I think the reason there's a good return on investment in Pretoria is because on long-term rentals, your rental market pays more or less the same in Cape Town and Pretoria. but the purchase value, the value that you purchase the home for is obviously a lot higher in Cape Town. Sometimes double, sometimes up to 3 times compared to Pretoria. So it looks like your return on investment is higher in Pretoria because of the rent being the same, but the purchase price being so much less. However, in Cape Town, you've got capital growth, as you've said, on the property, which you don't necessarily have to the same degree in Pretoria. Here we've got properties growing in value between 8 to 12% per annum, whereas in Pretoria, we have not really seen capital growth. Prices stay stable, but it's not increasing on an annual basis. So to increase your return on investment in Cape Town, I think there's a few steps that you can take. Firstly, you can make sure that you buy the bargains, that you buy for a lower price. Secondly, you can look at alternative options, not just normal rentals, maybe Airbnb, short-term rentals of property, which will offer, especially in summer, a higher return on investment. And there's also a massive demand for student accommodation in Cape Town, especially in your Stellenbosch areas, for example, where you can purchase a home, convert it into a student commune accommodation, and get a higher return on investment.
So my last question is, what would you say is the necessary steps to take to prepare yourself mentally and financially for your first investment property?
Okay, with investment properties, you have to remember you make your money when you buy the property, not when you sell it. So it's very important that you don't overpay when you purchase. So you have to do your groundwork, go and look what's available, go make sure that when you purchase that it offers value for money. So it helps to work with a professional estate agent that can guide you through that process. In terms of finances, remember that the bank takes into consideration 1/3 of your gross income. So often investors get in a position where they're almost over-geared, where the bank don't want to borrow more money to them because that 1/3 ratio is already over the limit. So you have to make sure constantly that your income level justifies the monthly bond installment, which will be 1/3 of your gross income. The banks will take your rental income of previous investment properties into consideration as well. But it's vitally important that you gear your finances in such a way that you qualify for the bond, because I always advise investors it's better to use the bank's money when you invest than to use your own. If I've got R1 million in my bank account, I would rather use it to purchase 10 properties and pay 100,000 deposit each and use the bank's money for the 90% bond for the rest of the investment of the property. So for all of those things, the best advice is to work with a bond originator. With Remax, we work with Better Bond, and we can introduce you to the best bond originator to assist you to run your finances correctly to qualify for the relevant bond.
Cool. Thank you so much for answering all my questions.